Welcome to the Infinite Star Connections. We are your hosts, my friend Jeff Demers and myself, Vivian Chauvet. Jeff is the CEO and also the ambassador. I want to call him ambassador, and a star seed for the Ponte is part of the Infinite Voice Project.org. I am known as a Nocturne Hybrid and also a representative of many intergalactic groups. I am the owner of Infinite Healing from the Stars. But today, we are absolutely thrilled to welcome an amazing guest. We're going to have another fantastic, out of this world exchange communication. We're going to journey through sound, music, consciousness, and painting today. So we are thrilled to welcome to the show today the very talented Doug Auld. And allow me to introduce him, more. As a child, Doug had a fascination with nature and wildlife as well as mechanical things. Curious as to how things worked, he enjoyed taking things apart and reassembling them. I think that's fascinating, which later became integral in the making of his art. I can't wait to talk about this. While still in high school, Doug saw the band The Doors, which changed his life, switching over from auto mechanics to piano tuning and rebuilding for income. He also began to study the piano and classical music. He formed a band called East Agony, playing his original music in venues in New York and New Jersey areas, building including CBGB in New York City. After seeing the painting of Salvador Dali, Doug began to pursue visual arts, being attracted to the idea of working in the art form. Initially self-taught, Doug also studied in the Art Student League, School of Visual Arts, and the New York Academy in New York City. Well, we can go on and on with the bio, but today we want to welcome Doug to the show. Can't wait to dive into your impressive background. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Vivian and Jeff. And I forgot I did all that stuff. So thank you for reminding me. But yeah, it's been quite a journey, but I'm very excited to be here.
It's really wonderful, to have you be here today. And of course, we've been talking in our virtual studio before we went live, and you already shared with us some incredible experience, inspiration, painting just right away, the one behind you. So why don't we just start here, because I'm excited talking about this painting behind you, this beautiful, almost like looks like a being of light that you have right behind you. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, investigating ufology and the paranormal for many years, I came across a fascinating story by a person who now is a good friend named Chris Bledsoe. And Chris had an amazing story, something almost hard to believe. And yet when I investigated him and his family and looked into it, I mean, investigated online and so on, and I spoke to Mel Fabregas from his show and asked him if I could speak, because that's where I saw Chris first. So could I contact Chris? I got to talk to him about this. It was amazing. And I reached out to him, and he wrote me back, and we started to talk and form a friendship. Long story short, I went down to his home, stayed with their family, got to know them, sat at a restaurant and saw goosebumps and chills about this man, about his story. And it resonated so powerfully true to me. And like I do with all stories, because we only really have two choices: to believe it or to not believe it. You know, when we don't experience something, we can only believe the story we hear or disbelieve the story, or remain in some sort of limbo or neutral, or at least open to it, which is where I like to remain all the time with most everything. And Chris described the entire story to me, and we became good friends, and we spoke about it for several years. And finally, Chris had said to me, he kept making an impression on me that the lady that he saw, the vision at night, was the most important part of his story. And he said, Doug, I think maybe the reason why you and I met each other is I need somebody to illustrate this lady for people to have a picture of. And so I said, I don't know. I don't do that kind of painting, Chris. I'm more of a studio artist that, like, you sit in front of me and I'll paint your portrait. But I'm not really like the kind of make it up out of my mind type of person. But I said, if you just describe it to me as best you can. I think it took about a year of him back and forth with me describing it to me before I decided to make a commitment to doing it. So the painting behind me is the Lady of Light. And I painted it off the best description that Chris Bledsoe could give me. So painting, of course, someone's imagination or someone's dream is a very difficult thing. But she floats off the ground in the middle of the night. She had her hands out. She had this glowing light about her. And a bull came through the woods and ran through him, knocked him over. And when he turned around, she was standing there glowing. And she gave him this message. So I said to myself, well, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to make this painting. And so that's the Lady of Light. And, she represents my best take on what he explained. And when he saw it, he said, Doug, it's amazing. So much of this is right. He goes, the face was a little different. The face was narrower, but all in all, it represents his experience. So that's what the Lady of Light is.
Amazing. Absolutely. I could visualize everything when you were talking about how the experience, how the painting became to that point of what we see behind you. And I can see people going, wow, the painting is beautiful, because it really translates that light. We can feel the presence. I know, Jeff, you can feel it, but I can feel.
I actually can't feel it. So
that's okay.
It's beautiful. I just, it looks like a painting to me. So.
Oh, there's more to it. So this is why I wanted to really start right here, because not only for me, it shows also how, your painting abilities, it's incredible, the precision, the light, the palette of color, the presence, it really describes that, and what you went through to capture and immortalize that experience of her on painting. It's still, you can still read the story, you can still feel what took place. And so, which brought us to your heart. I know that part of your bio, you've been studying. You study at the Art Studio League, the School of Visual Arts and the New York Academy in New York City. Let's talk about your heart. What brought you to explore that realm?
Well, I've always been a hands-on person. My entire education in life is about tinkering with things. As you can see in my bio, I used to like to take things apart. When I was a kid, this was funny. My mom got me for Christmas a little motorized monster called Great Garloo with batteries, and he would walk around and pick things up, and it was like an amazing thing. And I think my dad or my uncle got me an erector set, right? Just all stuff you could build with. And I think after Christmas, about 2 weeks later, my mom was like, "Where's Great Garloo?" But I had a car driving around on the ground, and I said, "Oh, I took him apart, and I took the erector set, and I put the two together, and I made a car." So I got rid of the Great Garloo, and I made a car out of the motor and the wheels. And that's what I used to like to do. I used to like all right, well, if that does that, let me take it apart, see how it works, and try something else. So the reason why I mention this is I went to school for auto mechanics. My dad was a car dealer. And I thought, well, I'll work for my dad. I love cars. I'm crazy about all mechanics and things. And I'll work for my dad. But then, my life changed later on when I went to see the Doors. My brother Greg took me to see the Doors play in Philadelphia. And I was in Bergen Technical High School learning auto mechanics trade. And this whole sort of, wait a minute, another world opened up to me. I was like, this is cool. Like, do I really want to be in a car showroom 9 in the morning to 9 at night when I could be like playing music, but I had to learn it. So I right away, again, I consider myself a problem solver. I went out and bought an organ and started to and then a harpsichord and like this and that. And then I started to practice piano and music. And I started to get into the arts. And then my brother, also very instrumental to me, my older brother Greg, took me to the Salvador Dali Museum in Cleveland, Ohio, where now on one hand, I'm seeing hearing this great music and culturally waking up. And then I'm seeing the works of Salvador Dali, and I'm like up close to them, and I'm going, who did this incredible work? Imaginative, incredible work, not only skilled and rendered beautifully, but probing the mind and probing the imagination of surrealism and so on. And so that got me going. I had problems with the music world, only because you have to rely on other people, which I realized, well, you got to rely on your guitar player to show up, or your drummer is having a problem, or we can't make it today, or someone. And I said, that stops me from doing what I want to do. And I said, this would be a great thing to try. So my brother Greg was painting first, and I would go down in the basement and watch him paint. And I'd be just like, I think I could do that. And I bought paints. And then I remember my first portrait. It was the album cover of Cat Stevens, the singer Cat Stevens. Mm-hmm. And I went down to the basement to my room, and I remember like a few days later, I came upstairs to my mom and dad and Greg and everyone. I said, "Is this any good?" And I showed it to them, and they were like, "Oh my God, where did that come from?" I said, "Oh, I painted it." So that kind of, and I couldn't draw to save my life as a kid. I mean, I was the worst hack as a draw. I probably still can't draw very well, but when I'm determined to do something, I look at it like problem solving. I'm very much like, well, there's math in it, and there's angles, and then there's a degree of logic and taking it apart, and I work like that. And so that kind of kicked me off into the art world, and I was very influenced by the photorealists in New York City. And one of the main people, Chuck Close, one of the most famous, he wouldn't consider himself a photorealist, but he was in the very high integral realist category, and that impressed me. And I got to know Chuck, and got to know some of them. And I loved painting fanatically real things to make people so like, wait a minute, that's like, you didn't use chrome paint for a car? And I'm like, there is no chrome paint. It's just white next to blue, next to red, next to this, and your eye will just fudge it all together. And so I had so much fun doing that, and that was the evolution from realism to surrealism to all the different series of work that I have that people can see on my art website.
Phenomenal.
When you paint the ones behind that lady there, they're all just headshots, right?
Yeah, that's my series. My last serious series of work before I stopped painting to move to writing a show musical, which is another crazy story. I painted 100 portraits of whistleblowers. Yeah. And the 100 portraits, Jeff, are what I consider to be one piece of work. All 100. So in other words, I don't want to sell one. I don't want to sell 5. I don't want to let one out of the series. It's sort of like a documentation of a walk through my awakening into the other world. We can only know so much about something, and the only way we do know anything about anything is to either A, experience it yourself, witness it in front of yourself, a car accident in front of you, like right there, or somebody doing something, and you're like, I witnessed it. If the car accident happened in front of someone else down the block, now you need to know about it by being told the story. Mm-hmm. So now you've heard it secondhand. And on and on and on to belief. That gets into belief about why do we know what we know, and we believe things. Like we believe in religion, and we believe in geographical locations we've never been through. Too, I mean, I've never been to Hawaii, but I believe it's there. And so there's only so many ways to know something. So I thought one of the best ways and one of the most admirable things I ever saw in my life that people have taken on were people that blow the whistle on something, meaning they're putting themselves in grave situation, reputation-wise, health-wise, family and friends. They're ostracizing themselves to come out and then to say, I'm going to blow the whistle on, let's say, DuPont for pouring, you know, Teflon waste into the river that floats down to another, you know, town, and the kids are playing in the water and they're in the river and they're taking the Teflon in, and there's all this, you know, horrible stuff. And I'm not necessarily targeting DuPont right now. There are a lot of people that are guilty of this in a number of ways. So my whistleblower, my 100 Portraits of Whistleblowers, represents my investigation from one person to leapfrogging over to another and going, wow, oh wow, I didn't know that guy existed. So after I would paint one or study one, I jumped to another one. And so the 100 whistleblowers is certainly not inclusive of the thousands of amazing whistleblowers out there. It's just a reach to do a sampling and to say, look, if I'm to have a show and these paintings are on the wall, you do the work. You, the viewer, take an interest. You pick one, look at the name, who he is, look at the bio, and say, wow, who is this person? Like my friend Dan Willis. I painted Dan Willis from the Disclosure Project, Dr. Greer's Disclosure Project in 2001. And he had all those whistleblowers on stage that were all willing to testify in front of Congress and under oath. They were willing to testify under oath. That speaks loudly to me. Now, I can't verify or vet every one of them. I can't say that everyone is honest or hasn't exaggerated. But when you see the cost-benefit analysis of somebody putting themselves out like that, like Chris Bledsoe, or you know, or Nancy Tremaine, you know, does Nancy Tremaine really need to go through this kind of nightmare?
Oh, yeah, really.
And so I run the numbers on that all the time with myself, and that's why I get compelled or convinced of somebody. Now, they may not all be true or real, and I wish that I added. Now, if I was to do that series of 100 whistleblowers over again today, maybe I would eliminate 20 of them and add 20 new ones, you know, that I haven't thought of. So that work substantiates. I've always been a bit of an activist, not an activist in the, you know, go out in the world and, you know, I do it with my art and my music. I do it with my creativity. And I feel that there is a grand amount of activism in everything I paint and the people I choose to paint and why I choose the series I choose. Very similar to when your audience goes to my website and sees State of Grace, my series on burn survivors.
Right, I've seen that. That's amazing.
I mean, I obviously, Jeff, didn't pick painting burn survivors to sell 1 million of them.
Right.
I rarely sell any of my art because it's difficult. It's not art gallery art.
What comes first when you do a portrait? I mean, I know that people ask what comes first, the lyrics or the music. When you do a say one of these whistleblowers, do you do the eyes first? Do you do the face first, or where do you start? How does it start?
That's a great question, which I really enjoy. I learned as a person. I'm pretty much self-taught as a painter, but as you can see in my bio, I did some continuing ed. It's almost like I said, all right, let me go into the city and see what everybody's up to, see what they're doing, and then come back into the laboratory and work by myself. And I learned to get rid of the white. So if I have a white canvas right here, the first thing I'll do is take paper towel, turpentine and brown or gray paint, and go get rid of all the white.
You paint in oils or what?
Everything is oil on canvas or oil on panel canvas or whatever.
Wow.
And so I'll get rid of the white immediately. And because the white, it's a calibration issue. And I don't want to get too deep into this for your audience who may not want to be interested in the technique of painting. It's a calibration issue. If your eyes are always trying to evaluate a certain tone against white, the white is too bright. Or black, the black is too dark. you want to kind of get a middle tone so that you can evaluate what one tone is against the other, because it's all calibration. It's calibration of the eyes.
Gotcha.
So I wipe out the white, and then I take a paper towel, and I look at the image I want to paint, and I look at the canvas, and I rub out highlights and darks, almost like making a ghost image, like just a little blurry ghost image. And then I start to, with angles, cut into it a little bit with a drawing with the brush. And I never, ever do anything of finality, especially eyes, until I'm almost done with the entire portrait, which is different than what a lot of people would think. We're all taught, like if you ask a child, draw me a face, they're going to draw the eyes first.
Eyes first, right? Yeah, the eyes, nose, mouth, and then everything all around it.
Yeah, and what they're going to do is they're going to put the eyes, even though our eyes are halfway up our head, halfway up, eyebrows above that, and a nose then another proportion down. All children or all people who don't know how to draw will draw a circle and put the eyes up high.
Yeah.
because psychologically, when we look at a face, we pay so much predominant attention to features that we believe that the features take up far more of the face than they actually do. It's all psychological.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it just, they look so damn lifelike.
Yeah. And when you go to my website, I have some in-progress shots of that very thing that you've just asked me. I think it's Stephen Bassett, you know, from Ufology.
Yeah.
I think I painted his portrait, and I show like the scratching down, the brown, the drawing into it, and the final portrait. And your viewers can see those stages at my whistleblower site.
Are those whistleblowers basically UFO people, or is it all ranges from everything?
It's all ranges, but I will say that I predominantly leaned on the ufology people, who I find fascinating, because I always felt, now this gets into very interesting stuff. Vivian, I'm sure you'll respond to this. I believe I know through my intuition things that I don't really know. And so I go mostly by my gut, my intuition about a lot of things. And so I've always believed, as a kid on up, that we're not alone. I've always believed that there are other life forms, other dimensions. I grew up on The Outer Limits and Twilight Zone. Rod Serling is a major impact in my life. Absolutely one of the greatest people, creative people, who offered his creativity to change us all. And actually, he wanted to write for social injustice, and he realized it wouldn't be very well received. And so he cloaked his stories of race and plight of the Jews and all sorts of things in alien stories. And so he cloaked it in that, and his message would come through to us that way. And that way we were able to accept it. So Rod Serling being an absolute amazing influence in my life, The Outer Limits and One Step Beyond, and all these amazing shows put me, you know, really in the whole, you know, vibe of the fact that there are others. We have to have others, and there are not only others, you know, not only beings not like us and from outer space or whatever you want to call it, but interdimensional. I mean, we already know that our visual light spectrum, from, you know, the lowest waves to the highest waves, we only see this little tiny razor blade in between.
Yeah, we only see 3 colors, right?
We only, well, there are what is the word? There are I'm blanking on the word, but I'll come up with it. There are people that have an ability to see more colors and taste more colors, but I still believe they're only the combination of the colors that we know. But I study near-death experiences. In fact, I'm so deeply into them, I think I listen to them every night for the last 2 years. I download them from a site and I put them in a reader. Mm-hmm. The reader reads to me at night, and I go to bed to them, and I wake up in the middle of the night and I play them again and I play them again. And those people, the people that have crossed over and come back, the people that are able to tell us what it's like to leave your body and go to this other place, they have seen colors that we just can't conceive of, because it's another dimension. I mean, every color that anybody has ever seen that I know is a combination of red, yellow, or blue of our spectrum.
Right.
So how could you name a color that isn't touching on any of those colors? And if you can come up with that color, you have just mentioned something that it's outside my paradigm. So, you know, so getting back, sorry, I digress, but getting back to what you asked me about the whistleblowers, is I've been most fascinated with these people, and they've taken the most ridicule and ostracized, and you got to be kidding me, you know, come on. I've taken it myself all my life from friends who think I'm an idiot behind my back. They may not say it, but, you know, you got to be kidding me. You think
me too. Yeah, we talk about the almost same thing.
Yeah, so my whistleblowers, I would say, comprise about 60% of maybe ufology people and paranormal people, and then I have some Iraqi or like war whistleblowers, and I have industrial whistleblowers, medical whistleblowers, people who are taking their lives at risk and saying, no, this is nonsense. We're being conned, we're being fooled, we're being cheated, and you've got to take a look at this. And these people are amazing, because whenever you want to go, oh, come on, they're just after making money. Are you kidding me, making money?
There is no money in ufology. I'm telling you. There is no money.
No. That's a myth. And look at Nancy Tremaine and the dedication she put to her book.
Oh my God, I know.
Yeah, are you going to tell me
she's making any money with this stuff?
She's not making any money. I haven't sold any of my whistleblower portraits. Nobody's come along and wanted to buy the series. All art galleries avoid me like the plague. I even had with my burn survivor series, when your audience can look when you go to my website, I even had a 2-page spread article in the New York Times covering that series of work. It went all over the world. I was invited to Germany. I went on German television with it. Not a single art gallery has come near me to say, we'd love to represent you, because it's about money. It's all about commerce. Very few art dealers are really going, wow, this is historic. This is something for people, for their health, for culture. No. It's all about cash. Come on. And I don't want to come off too cynical. I can blame myself too for not being all that aggressive in hunting them down. But I mean, after a New York Times article, how many people read that? I would have thought the only people that approached me after that was a chatty talk show, like a Jerry Springer show, but it wasn't Jerry Springer. I'm not going to mention who. It wasn't Jerry Springer. But we want to put your whistleblowers. No, we want to put your burn survivors on TV. We want to put you on with a show with them. And when I realized, when I started to ask them some questions, I realized that what they really wanted to do was put this gawking material on for sensation. Right,
just for ratings.
Just for ratings. They didn't, and they wanted me to give them my list of burn survivor names and numbers, but they weren't really interested in having me on.
Right.
They want to have them on and go, look at the freak show that we have here. So it takes a lot of determination and commitment and humanity, in a sense, to want to do the types of things that all these people in the whistleblower series have done. And you, Nancy, all of us, just to stay our ground and do this. And it's not easy, but it's very rewarding.
Well, you did that one, which really blows me away, and I keep telling you about this, that damn Marlon Brando one with the bees. When you did that one, I mean, I don't know how in the hell you did it to make his face look just like that with the bees. Did you do like a bee and step back? So I got to be here, step back. I got to put a bee here. Oh, this bee's got to go here. I got to make his dough,
Well, it's a little bit like that. Again, Chuck Close, a very well-known painter, still living today, one of the greatest American artists. Chuck got me into the idea of seeing things through a grid.
Mm-hmm.
It's a grid system, and what's a better natural grid system than a honeycomb?
Right.
Honeycomb is a marvelous grid system. So I'm like, this is going to be great. I'm going to problem solve, because my series of surrealism with fish and birds and wildlife, making portraits of famous people, Marilyn Monroe, Jim Morrison, Einstein. I made Einstein out of microorganisms, which I thought was great. Taking one of our alleged greatest geniuses and creating him out of our simplest life forms. Mm-hmm. So that Einstein is showing up on the head of a pin with a little water in it. I mean, like, because these were microorganisms. So it's like this macro to micro thing that I always like to think in terms of. But the Marlon Brando portrait, I'm like, all right, like, let me take, who would fit Marlon Brando, something intense, like honeybees on a honeycomb, and brown and not colorful and flowery, but more, although I could do that, but more like an intense person. So paint the honeycombs, get magazines and reference to honeybees and things. So I have some visual guides.
Yeah.
Analyze the bees, the honeycombs, from a level of light to dark. Light being wings reflecting, to dark being cells open with nothing in it, okay? And if I could look at that theme and variations of values of light to dark, it's really all about values, meaning lights to darks, not color. Color has nothing to do with value. Color, yellow could be a bright value or a low value. So lights to darks, and then take my honeybees, and now start to problem solve, almost like visual chess. Like if you're going to play chess, you're going to make a move and then a counter move. Mm-hmm. So my first bee is my first chess move. All right. Okay, so let me mark the eyebrow with one bee. Let me put it there. And it's a holding spot, like as if I put a pin in the picture. Now let me go down to the chin and put another bee there. Now the problem is once I've done this, I've set precedents for proportion of how big or small these objects are. If they're too big and I can only get a clumsy 10 bees in the picture, it's not going to read. If it's too small, if they're too small and I need to paint 1,000 bees, I'm going to be like working on it forever. So now I have to find a magical spot.
Right.
And a little bit like you said, it's move, counter move, but I wouldn't really walk away as often as you would think. I could paint for quite a while up at the grid because I understood the grid's proportions and the criteria of the size of things. So that's how I would do that.
Wow, that's still an amazing, and that's just an amazing picture.
Thank you. I really went like all out with the detail. I painted every little wing and leg and hair. That's the Virgo in me. I'm a very exacting person.
Okay. I mean, I am still processing the whistleblower 100 portrait as a sum, and it's one heart, one piece of heart representing many. Speaking of community, I mean, I need to go back to this just a little bit because I'm curious to see how you even started the process to get involved in taking on such a project of sitting down. Have you met each and every, of course you have, but when you met each and every one of them, how did you even get going with this? How did you get involved with all this amazing whistleblower?
Well, let me just be clear that it would be impossible to meet in person these people. For example, Edward Snowden and there's so many wonderful. Many are dead. Many have passed on. Julian Assange. Mm-hmm. A lot of these people are, one person's whistleblower is another person's traitor, depending on how you look at things.
Right.
I paint
villains.
Yeah. So how I would go about that is either I'd find some photographs or I'd watch a film or watch a documentary or watch a small something. And I would watch it on video, and I would freeze frame just the right moment where I saw an expression in someone's face that I liked. And then I would take that image, and from that image, I would create the painting. So that's how I would do it. Now, many of them I've met, and some of them have even contacted me. There's a woman in my series named Kay Griggs. Kay reached out to me. I was like amazed because she's one of my heroes. I mean, she was married to a military guy who had a very, very open, loose mouth when he was drinking. And he shared some of the stuff of, you know, Skull and Bones and, you know, West Point and what these people would do to move people up in ranks and this and that. And you're like, what? And, you know, and she put herself by being his wife, she put herself at great risk to whistleblow this stuff. And one day I got an email from her and she said, "Oh, Mr. Auld, I just have to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking on what you're doing, for being so brave." And I wrote her back. I'm like, brave? I'm doing this from my house. You put yourself out into the world and your life at risk. So I thought that was a wonderful thing to be contacted by her. And also Dan Willis, who I've become friends with, who I painted from the Disclosure Project, as I mentioned, Chris Bledsoe, and many others that, you know, we've spoken to since I did the series of work. Stephen Bassett told me once when I was at one of the events, he said, "Doug, don't ever sell this series of work because the day is coming where it's going to be so majorly famous, because it's looking way ahead of the curve at these people who are now we're seeing the media completely swamped with, you know, ufology and this and that. Of course, they're couching it in a we're under a threat, an alien threat. This is their thing, and to try to couch it, which of course Stephen Greer just came out with his film to try to, you know, play counterpoint to that, because you know that the American government will never get up to do anything unless it's a threat, because then that raises money. If you raise something about something kind and generous, nobody's going to put money into it.
Right.
But if you can say we're under attack, oh my God, then we got to go to Congress and raise $800 billion for it. You know.
Now you got my interest because we're going to be under attack.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, if I get off track, just let me know. But that's where, like, the Whistleblower series was really a testament to not only these 100, but to all whistleblowers out there, because we need them. We need them even more today now, because as we move forward with the dilemmas that we're in, we're being told stuff by the authorities. We're really not sure if it's true or not. And if you can get a whistleblower to come out from behind the scenes and say, "Hey, listen, this is not really what's truthful," or to say, "Yes, this is," or, you know, on any side of it, debunk it, this and that. It's a great service to our society, and so they're very important people.
Well, when you did that Lady of the Light painting, did you get any inspiration from her herself?
That's an interesting question.
So, because you can get somebody's impression. Okay, great, I got this guy's impression, but in actually doing something like this, you know, I'm of the opinion, and I know this because my wife gets it. They will come to you and give you correction. Like, no, this is how I want it. You know, they will tell you. Did she come up and say, "Look, no, I look like this"?
Jeff, I would say the only way I could answer that is to say that I go so much by my intuition. Mm-hmm. So who is to say what your intuition is? In other words, my intuition, my inner tutor, my inner teacher. Maybe, you know, I'm in touch, and maybe we could talk about Hypnot on my show, because that was kind of downloaded to me.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think it's instinctual, and I also think that I'm course corrected in dreaming. that when I go to sleep at night and I dream, I'm a person who has very vivid dreams. I often have lucid dreams, not enough. I wish I could have more of them. But I'm a person that when I dream, I believe that there's messages and direction in my life that I'm given that I almost don't remember. So then tomorrow I wake up and I go about this and I go about that in a gently massaged manner that's different maybe than I was going. And so it's the only way I could answer. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say I got direct like instruction.
Only because your pictures you do behind it is spot on. They're three-dimensional. It's like you can reach out and touch them. But that lady is like one dimension, like just like boop, light, you know, just like it's there's no depth or anything, you know.
Yeah. If I put a photograph in the chat box, Vivian, of my studio with a better picture of that, would you be able to see it and the viewers could share it?
You mean to move your?
If I dragged it into the chat with the host and other guests box, would that photograph come through?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Let me try.
Your screen or something, or?
Well, I have a photograph on my screen. Hold on, and if I get it, I'm going to try this. If I
don't think so because you're a guest in the virtual studio. Only the host can share from our computers ourselves.
But if I gave it to you and you chose to share it, would that be? It's not important. You know what? Actually,
send it to me. Send it and see what we can do because that would be interesting to see it.
Actually, I have an answer for it. Is that when anyone goes to my website, my art website, which you can mention, you scroll all the way to the bottom and it's on the very bottom. Nice, clear. It's a nice, clear, high definition picture. You'll see me, Chris Bledsoe, and his father. And then you'll see the painting.
Okay. I've already posted your website on the chat room because it was requested. I wonder if you can have it on your phone and show it on the screen.
Let's see.
You know what? Let me see if I can.
Actually, I have a very good idea. 1 second. 1 second. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this and I'm going to try to send it, see if this comes through, and if it does, then you may be able to.
Yeah, I'll be able to share on my hand.
Let's see if it comes through in there. I guess it didn't go in. It says private chat, yet it didn't go in there. Well, again, Jeff, if you go to dougauld.com, and scroll to the bottom, very bottom, you'll see the painting. And if you take a screenshot of it or something like that, you know, with your computer and frame it out, you could probably do whatever you like with it.
Okay, I'm going towards the bottom. Oh, there it is. Hang on. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Because you'll see that there's a tree in the background. There's an owl in the background. There's a UFO in the background. There's a bull running at you. And on the bull's head, there are the little Atacama glyphs, from the desert, the little alien glyphs. They're there. So there's a lot of little secret stuff in the painting if you go and you look in deep that you can't quite see with it behind me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I see it.
Okay, let me see if I can't get this up here.
I have an idea of what to do with, because I see I'm on your website right now. I can see the picture is very much more defined.
Yeah.
When you look at it this way, and it's incredible. So what I'll do is I have an idea of. Oh, okay. So okay. There you go.
There it is. Yep. So you can see under one hand, there's that sort of that classic Bob Lazar UFO or Billy Meyer UFO, if you want.
Yeah, it's a Palladian.
Yeah. And then you see the little owl in the tree.
Yeah, right there.
Okay,
yeah.
Now the tree is actually a hollowed out tree because that's the tree from Chris Bledsoe's yard that spontaneously combusted and went on fire. which is a fascinating story. So I kind of appropriated the idea that I painted it freehand. And then the bull is part of the Chris Bledsoe story, but since it's not a movie, I had to try to put, you know, into one painting these ideas. But she was floating off the ground when he turned around, and I you know, I've got some constellations in the sky also, the Big Dipper, and
Pleiades right there.
Yeah. So it's the painting is full of imagery, and if you zoom in on her chest, there's a triangle, and the triangle, it's almost barely seeable. It's in white. It's a triangle right in her chest, and yeah, scroll down. Yeah, you'll see it right there. See the triangle? Yep.
Yeah.
I put that in there because that was the shape of the triangle that Chris Bledsoe and his family repeated, that the beings that they saw, they had that on their chest. They had that triangle. So I just tried to put as much impression of his story into this painting, you know.
Wow, that's amazing.
It really is. And that triangle really reminds me of an intergalactic symbol that is used by different groups, including the Pleiadians, the Venusian, and others.
People can see.
Yeah, you can see it very clearly. And the sacred triangle is really utilized as, you know, in the intergalactic groups. And what also, it's the color, it's the vibration, it's the energy.
Yeah, up here. I can see that. Yeah.
Emanating from her.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat room is asking, what is the symbology of the bull? Do you know?
Yeah, the bull is fascinating. And of course, Chris would better be able to tell people, but the bull, it's hard to explain, but when he was in bed in the middle of the night, and he heard a voice say, "Arise," as he tells it. Arise. And Richard Dolan did extensive interviews with Chris.
Look on the top of here. What is that?
The Atacama glyphs, the little alien beings from the Atacama, I think, desert or whatever. But so
wow,
Chris was told to arise. Call it a dream, call it a lucid dream, call it a vision, call it whatever. He went out in the middle of the night to his backyard. And I know because I've been there. I know what it looked like. And there was a breeze, a beautiful breeze, powerful breeze coming through the leaves and the trees. And he looked at the woods, and this bull comes running out of the woods straight towards him. And he said it was there, but it wasn't there. It was like invisible, and it ran right through him.
That scared the daylights out of me, man.
And he got knocked over. And when he turned around on his knees in the direction the bull went, the bull wasn't there anymore. The lady was floating. So the bull, I don't know what the bull really represents. I just know that that was what he saw and experienced. And the lady appeared after the bull. And the lady told him he has a burden. He has a message that he has to do and he has to bring to the world. And he kept this secret for years. And he struggled with this for years, until he got in touch with MUFON, and that's where the story started to begin. So it's gone crazy since then, and I know that Richard Dolan has a 3-part interview with Chris Bledsoe. So if anybody wants to hear an extensive interview with Chris, you could go to the Rich Dolan website.
Wow, that's
wonderful. There was also a UFO in the background. You can see like a spaceship.
Yeah. And I basically, that was, you know, I took some artistic liberty to put some signs in the painting that tie a lot of these things together. You know, that, you know, it's a mystery. Life is just an incredible mystery. Jeff, I mentioned to you earlier, I'm more about the question mark of life than the answers. I don't have the answers. I live in the question mark. There's possibilities of this and that. And I think the idea of having an open mind is not an open mind in only the box of your belief systems, but being able to kind of, you know, I have a lot of wonderful friends who say they have an open mind in the box that they're in. But you got to get out of the box that you're in and say, wow, I mean, like there's other things that are beyond that. And usually people that have an open mind go by what they believe is possible in their own world. Like, is that's possible in my own world? I'm open to many things that are not in my own world, that I'm not able to do. But if I hear compelling testimony and honesty from someone and it resonates with me, I'm open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because there's a lot of activity going on in the chat room right now. People are really connecting. Some of them feel goosebumps. Some of them also feel like this Lady of the Light looks like other beings that they have encountered. You can tell there's a commonality. It feels so much Pleiadians, like Jeff mentioned. Somebody mentions like, what does Vivian has to say about the bull? What does it represent? Thank you for the vote of confidence. You know, the presence of that animal, you can tell it's almost like an interdimensional being. It feels like a guardian to me that came to greet the lady or something like that. That would be a little sparkle I would like just to add to it. Thank you, Jeff, for bringing the picture so we can really see it up close, and the details are phenomenal. Definitely going to browse and explore your website, Doug. There's just so much arts, energy, experiences, tell stories. You can tell, you capture, you know, people's stories, what they have to say, their consciousness on paintings. Which brings me also to the other part about your other creation. You have created a musical, if I remember correctly.
Yes, and before we get on to Hypnota, I just want to mention that I never mentioned to either one of you, but I want your audience to know. If you go to DougAuld.com/UFO, you'll see 8 of my real-life UFO sightings that I photographed. They're on there, and they would need explanation, but they're things that I photographed myself in the daytime by constantly watching the sky and looking up, and none of them have been adequately explained by anybody to this day. So you can see some of my UFO sightings. I'm an avid sky watcher. I have night vision cameras for the night. I have films and things, but I just wanted your viewers to know that you can find some UFO photos on my site.
Interesting. I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah, absolutely. That is fantastic. Definitely. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah.
So Hypnota, let me tell you about my musical. I think somewhere along the line, after painting all the series of work that I've done, and we didn't even mention the burn survivor paintings, but that's okay. People can go to my site and look at that series. I think I said about as much as I wanted to say with the visual arts, and something started to change in me where I said, I don't want to make material things anymore. I don't want to pile up paintings or give them to friends or like put them in storage. I want to go back to music because music is vibrational. And I think that we're all really heading towards this area of understanding and realizing that all vibrates. Everything is vibrational. The universe is a vibrating world, and we're all vibrating, and all things are vibrating at different levels. And in light of now quantum physics, and we're all physicists are going and everything, it's like we're not even sure what matter is. Matter is, there is no matter. It's all vibration. And since music is probably the thing that I think most people can easily identify with when you talk about vibrations, good vibes. The Beach Boys had a song with good vibrations. Music is fascinating to me because, like right now, I can think of a song and hear it in my head. I can think of a song from 50 years ago or 30 years ago, or when I met my first girlfriend. What that song came out, and then I can hear it, but I don't know where I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it somewhere in my being. And so I don't know. I just decided I want to get back to music. I made enough art. I said enough with what I wanted to say with my creativity that way. And so one night, and I'm not saying that this is in linear fashion, but one night I remember waking up in the middle of the night and just sitting up and saying the word Hypnota. 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 And I was I play hockey in the mornings, ice hockey a lot. So I was smart enough to just write it down. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I wrote it down because when I got up, I wouldn't have remembered it. Went to play ice hockey, came back, washed up, cleaned up, and saw the note. I'm like, Hypnota. Now, I had been writing music, and anytime anyone would ever hear my music, they would say, oh, that's show music. You know, that's certainly not a pop song, and you're not going to get on the charts with that. But that sounds like show music. Your music is like movie or show music. So everything started to come together at once, and I just got this instinctual message that I'm going to write a musical about disclosure. I'm going to write 17, 18 songs and a stage musical, 2 acts with characters about disclosure. But I'm going to write it not for the UFO community. The UFO community, I don't want to preach to the choir. I want to take this to a Broadway stage or a stage anywhere around the world where everyday people, tourists, and so on are coming into the city to see a show. And I want to introduce this idea to them, especially people that are not very up to speed on some of this stuff. And so in this time, as this is happening, and Jeff knows Nancy Tremaine. Nancy Tremaine and I became good friends. She's working on her book, Symbiosis, and Nancy and I are talking back and forth. And I realized that Nancy's story, my show Hypnota circles around 4 or 5 well-known UFO events, not events that I can prove are real. Again, I don't say I can prove anything, but events compelling enough to me, like the aerial school sighting in Rwanda with the children, the school sighting, the 64 school children. That story, that's part of my show. Nancy's story of her and Cindy are now in my show named Nectar and Jilly. Nectar would take the part that Nancy would be, and Jilly would take the part that Cindy would be. And I build the story around that in a loose manner. It's not like a strict, you know, copying of their stories, but they're inspired. Nancy's inspired me to do this, and I liked her story a lot. I mean, there's a lot of this. Travis Walton, there's Chris Bledsoe. There's a lot of stories out there, but I decided to build it around her. I do have a character in the show that represents Chris's sighting. I have a character in the show that represents my friend Grant Cameron. I think people know who Grant Cameron is. Mm-hmm. And he's a great guy, and I met him, and I think he's dedicated his life to it. He's part of my Whistleblower series also. And there's several other like stories intertwined into it. And the best way I can describe this show is you'd have to be a little older to know this story of Christmas time. They put on a show called It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. And it's one of my favorite movies about, it's so well done. And it just has the most beautiful culmination at the end of vindication, coming together, and a beautiful, beautiful story told. And of course, people know E.T. and people know The Wizard of Oz. And I think it's got a flavor of all these 3 stories. It's completely clean. There's no foul language. There's no violence of any kind in the show. There's tragedy and there's drama, but that's it. And the story is about these 2 young people, mainly Nectar, my main character, running a radio blog, creating a radio blog in a little Silverstream trailer, you know, one of those old trailers that, you know, it's up on a hill, and it's called the Silver Comet. And she runs her show called Hidden Truths, and she interviews guests. In the meantime, there are the antagonists, the alphabet agencies, people, you know, that want to keep this story under wrap. And I don't, you know, I'm probably the only person that has ever not cast the CIA or the NSA or whoever you want to talk at as the evilest people in the world. I cast them as they're doing their job. Now, whether I agree with their job or not, I don't even know their job, because the CIA is complete mystery to me. I mean, I know that there's a lot of bad stuff that's happened around the world, and I know they have a lot of power, but I really don't know on an individual level. They're still people. They have children. They want a better world for their children, I would imagine. I would imagine a CIA operative has children and he wants a better world for his children. I just don't. So you understand where I'm trying to take this is that I say, yes, they have a job to do. It may not be what I want, but they play a part in this dance of life that we're all doing. And so I have two agents, Agent Randolph and Agent Bryant, in my show, and they are after Nectar and her friend Jilly, similar to what Nancy Tremaine would tell you in her books about her and Cindy. And they're trying to obfuscate. I even have a song called Obfuscation, which is a lot of fun. And so it's a show about disclosure. So I wrote it, and I'll tell you, Jeff, I told you earlier, I have never done anything so difficult in my life as to create this show. I wrote every song. I wrote all the lyrics. I wrote all the music. I play all the music on the keyboard. And I was fortunate enough to find some singers, several of them from Broadway. I found two singers that were in Wicked, the show Wicked. Mm-hmm. I found a couple of singers that were in Beetlejuice off Broadway. Wonderful people. They all gave me their time, and I got them to record some of my demos, and then some local singers and friends that I have. My friend Pat Bowl sang the song Obfuscation, and he was on Broadway in Mamma Mia. He played one of the fathers or something. And so, you know, all the pieces of the puzzle just kind of came together, and it's in final editing right now. The story is done. It's 2.5 hours. It's got 17 songs. And I need now I need divine intervention. I'm telling your audience, I need divine intervention. I need a music producer, a artistic director. I need somebody to come along and say, Doug, we want to take a look at your show. We want to see what this is. Because I think it could be from Disney to any number of other things that people want to get involved in this. It could be a Disney cartoon or an animation film. It could be a movie. It could be a show. But I wanted to bring this to Broadway because I think this would be a powerful context.
Well, just make sure that they don't take your story and make it for the audience instead of what the true nature of it is.
Jeff, that is a challenge. Now Hypnota, first of all, everything is copywritten. The show is registered with the Screenwriters Guild East of America, Writers Guild of America East. I registered the show 3 times in 3 different stages, from start to midpoint to finish. All the songs are copywritten. The term Hypnota, I couldn't believe it. I said, I want to buy the URL, www.hypnota.com, and it was available because nobody ever used the word before. So right. I've got that. I've got Hypnota and hypnotathemusical.com. So I'm covered as best I can at the moment.
Yeah. It did to Travis. I mean, it's whatever the people saw in Fire in the Sky is totally different than what really happened.
I met Travis and
Travis is a great guy.
Great guy. Yeah. He's friends with Chris. This is what happens. The whole world wants to just, turn it into whatever it's going to, money makes the mayor go. They want to cha-ching it and turn it into money. And if it's not sensationalized and scary, and if it's not like, whatever, they're worried they're not going to be able to sell it. Commerce runs most normal things. But I do believe that we're raising up to a sort of a acceptability of a higher vibration and a larger cause for us all. And maybe my show will be part of that. I don't know.
Just make sure you stay on point. That's all.
Yeah, and maybe staying away from Disney and going in a different direction.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the chat room, please, no.
Yeah.
No.
Stay away from what?
Disney.
From Disney.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I know. Believe me, I heard all the stuff about Disney. I'm up on all the bad stuff. I know. You know what? The funny thing is, you have to somehow to get, you have to weigh what you have to give to get, you know? Yeah. What am I going to give? If it's not seen by anybody, then am I getting any, am I influencing the world in the right way? How much do I have to give away to have someone take a chance on it? I mean, you know, I'm confident if I was in the right circles, the Steven Spielberg circles and all that kind of stuff, it would probably get a lot of attention. But I'm not part of the crowd. I'm not in the gang, so to speak. I'm not in the club. I have to figure out a way to get somebody, maybe a young producer or somebody that's got the same ambitions of our circle here, to take a chance on it, start it in a small theater, a small town, and I'd be happy with that.
We can ask our friends to help out, and I'm sure that they will nudge people to you.
If you want me to tell your audience, if they want me to stay away from Disney, they gotta pray and get in, you know, put the vibe out there.
Yeah, it's a vibrational match, huh? So you want to make sure that the vibratory rate and the integrity of your musical, because I feel like it's a powerful piece. It's another way of, you know, transcending, you know, negativity and stories, and you're really inspiring people through that channel. So those who come to you, who are going to be working with you, has to be also matching that consciousness and that integrity in that vibrational state. So I can see that about you. Doug, are you located in New York City?
I'm right outside New York City in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Okay.
I've been here many years, and it's a good kind of like holding spot for me. My son isn't too far away. New York is a stone's throw. I can get to the airports. It's a good spot for me to be.
Good.
I actually witnessed the second plane hit the World Trade Centers from the water. I saw that whole thing take place, and
oh wow!
And
wow.
It's been a very fascinating thing. I just want to get back to Hypnota for a second. People know the website hypnota.com. If they go to my website hypnota.com, there's some song examples, and there's a blog on there, and you could go onto the blog and make a comment. You can write me. You can reach me in any way. I have a couple of clever songs. One of them I wanted to mention was a song called Even Einstein Struggled. And it's a conversation between Einstein and Niels Bohr back in the day when they were talking about what is real. And Einstein was debating Bohr on, you know, are you telling me the moon isn't there? If I don't look at it, when I'm not looking at it, it's not there. And it's a very kind of clever, entertaining outlook on religion, science, faith, belief, and you know, couched in a very entertaining and fun manner. And so I really do think the show would be wonderful once people see it. And if I had, you know, a producer and we got an orchestra and all the music, I think I see it as being a wonderful thing. And I'm just hoping that the stars align.
Well, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen right now, because not only it exists here in a dimension, but it also exists in the quantum field. So let's bring that energy now. And people are already chipping in terms of IDs. Maybe crowdfunding could be an idea. Being your own like indie movie, independent producer, independent production. There's always a lot of, you know, people who work more in that sense of like an indie production, which is very unique. Your concept is unique. And I love that you are bringing in disclosure, UFO disclosure through hearts, musical, to lyrics, to energy, vibration. So I know it's manifesting already now. It's really palpable.
Well, you know, my dad, not to bring the first curse word into our conversation, but my dad always told me there's an ass for every seat, meaning that there's an opportunity and something to fill it. And so you put yourself out into the world and somebody will come along and whose expertise is not mine. My expertise is creating this stuff. I'm extremely poor. And I think all artists are plagued with this. I'm extremely poor with once I have something, what do I do with it? Because immediately when I have something finished, I want to start the next thing. I want to do what I do best. And that's what artist reps and agents are for. They do what they do better than making the stuff, and I do better at creating it than promoting it and selling it. So we need to work together, and I have to believe that there are good people, good, honest people that want a better world or a good world or an honest, society that are willing to work together. Instead, there's so much negativity of like, oh, you're going to be ripped off, and oh, it's another con job. And I've had it happen all my life as an artist. People come along, and then I find out I got ripped off, or I find out that I'm being conned, or I find out this or that, and it's very hard to keep going. It's and then you pull in. It's much like romantic relationships. You put your heart out there, then all of a sudden, what? Or it's not what it appeared to be, and now you're hurt, and we all pull in, and we all want to protect ourselves. So creatively, for all those artists and musicians and people out there that are listening to me, I know you feel it too. I feel it, and we all have to just, live with the difficulty. It's like I always love the comment that art is a privilege that you're willing to suffer for. And I feel very, very privileged to do that.
I have an artist question for you. It's off the wall, but it goes back to the Lady of the Light. Okay. Hands. How do you, because I know that hands are the hardest thing for an artist to capture, right? Do you have any tips on how to do hands?
Well, the biggest problem with art, in my estimation, is that we think symbolically. So let me explain that. A hand symbolically is this. Mm-hmm. So ask a child to draw a hand. Ask an adult to draw a hand. So if you learn symbolically, like eyes, teardrops, like the quintessential Egyptian person drawing with the person walking like this, walk like an Egyptian, or the eyes, everything is a symbol, a symbol. No eye looks like that. I never saw a person in my life that had like an eye like that, like a football, Right. It's up here and then it comes down. Problem with drawing is we have a hard time drawing what we see. We draw what we know. So symbolically, we make hands like this. Now, if I was to say, draw this hand, you could probably get a facsimile of it. But if I was to say, draw this hand, now you're lost.
Right.
Now, the reason is because you no longer have a symbol to hold on to. But it's actually an easier thing to draw non-symbolically. So there's a great book that I read many years ago called Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain. Drawing from the right side of the brain showed me something. In the book, there was a picture of Igor Stravinsky, the composer. And if you looked at it right side up, it was kind of a complicated drawing. If you looked at it right side up, you'd see Stravinsky sitting there and doing what he's doing. But if you turned the picture upside down, you could no longer recognize what the background was, the foreground was, and this and that. And the woman who wrote the book basically said, put your pencil down on one spot, identify if it goes up to the right, maybe it comes down a little bit over here, then it goes straight up to 12 o'clock, then somehow it goes over to 1 o'clock, then it goes across to 3 o'clock, and just follow your intuitions about where the line goes and how far it goes. Now you have no more symbols to follow. Your symbol of a face is taken away. When I turned that photo back over after I was done, I was like, oh my God, I drew a more realistic picture of Igor Stravinsky than I could ever draw if I drew it right side up. That's because I destroyed the notion of symbolic imagery.
Interesting.
And so we all have a sense. That's why I always talk about mathematics in music, mathematics in ice hockey playing, in soccer. I love the convergence of lines. Oh my God, look at how that just lined up just right. Hockey player number one is skating as fast as he can to the left, and the defenseman over here throws the puck, and they just end up at the right spot. It's like a beautiful convergence of lines. So I think in terms of ice hockey and soccer and sports and mechanics, grids, and vanishing points and things like that. So with art, it's a matter of breaking down the symbolic way of thinking. And I take for granted. I mean, I'm doing this all the time when I'm looking at faces. I'm always like, I'm always analyzing what I would be doing, and where I'm daydreaming and I'm looking at somebody. I take for granted that everyone is doing this, but I have to realize that no, not everybody is doing this. This is like something that for 30 or 40 or 50 years of being a creative person, I take it for granted in a sense. So
interesting. Very cool.
Yeah, it's really awesome because I can already feel my brain hemisphere shifting, just going into that creative mode. I feel like I was already creating new neural pathways just to follow the technique, right?
Yeah, and if we're not shown, I mean, look, you can get one of the movies I always love to watch is like Castaway with Tom Hanks. Okay,
yes.
Now, and not because of Tom Hanks, he's okay. I know there's a lot of controversial stuff about him, but it's the idea that what if you're on a desert island or you're on a little island, and you're abandoned and you have no connection to human beings. Okay, and let's just say you're never going to get rescued, and you're going to find food, and you're going to live. Like he's got the little Wilson ball there that he put a face on. You're going to start to create. Now, you're going to start to create, and you may start to do things that no one ever taught you, but you're never going to have a avenue to learn it if you're by yourself. So you're going to use your own wit and your own ingenuity. And so I've always described, I like that because I've always described myself as a person that would be a good person to be cast on an island with for my intuitiveness about how to solve problems. So let's take a little twine out of this tree, and let's take a rock over here, and let's tie this like this, and let's do that here. And now we can make a little trap to catch a little animal so that we can eat. Or how am I going to make a net to fish? And like, so, your plane crashes and you got this. If anyone ever saw that movie Alive about the soccer team that goes down in the Andes, well, a movie that I love. Great, brilliant movie. It's like we got to take what we have and kind of problem solve. We got to figure out how to survive. And I like that analogy in creativity too. I'm fairly self-taught in music and art. Not to say that I haven't had lessons at periods of time, but I let that all go to kind of like come back into my own world and say, how would I do it? How am I gonna solve this? Jeff, I mentioned this brilliant woman friend that I know out in Shelter Island, Suzanne, and she told me something once. She said, she's got a PhD. She's a brilliant woman, but she said to me something once, which I never really appreciated. She said, Doug, you have no idea how fortunate you have been to be spared an education. That you didn't get your PhD and you didn't get your mind locked into this thing.
Mold. Yeah.
Mold. And she thought that that's why I think the way I think, because I have a little bit of that cast away onto an island by myself reality. That's why I use these analogies.
That is really well said, actually, Doug, because it's true. I work with many clients, and some of them had either a background, engineer, architect, those are doctors or scientists who are really, they're being molded and cast into a very specific mental grid box of thinking, and then it reshaped themselves. So you're making an excellent point. I love when you said that you are like a castaway on your island. What I saw for you is that your own island of pure creativity, like a dimensional island, when you are connected to everything. And then this is why you receive your inspiration, and also this is how this new crew coming your way for your musical. In fact, I have an idea about this. I want to when we are about to do the clearing, which we're about to do because we're running 10 minutes to the show already.
God.
It's crazy. 10 minutes only. I see. I
We
mentioned
gotta
in the
go
beginning.
2 hours. I mean, it's we gotta go 2 hours. It's just.
I know. Right, just for today. Would you be back? Would you be back? We can talk more.
Yeah, anytime. I mean, we could talk for 5 hours easily. So I know that, there's only so much bandwidth there for tension that audiences have, but I mean, hopefully that's why I try to move through everything.
Beautiful, absolutely, and it's been so much flowing and the interaction in the chat room. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone who's always there to support the Infinite Star Connections, the podcast, supporting our guests, supporting Jeff and I. We're very grateful for all of you. Yeah, you who are listening right now and you who will be listening, we're grateful for you. I want to add an aspect of this. So before we do the clearing, I wanted to suggest something in regards to your project for the musical Hypnota. Why don't we bring the community together? Our together we're so powerful, and already add a layer to bring forth the perfect cast, the perfect director, the perfect marketing, the perfect group of light-minded people, light workers who will gravitate with you and them to you and bring them in your space. I already align them, everyone that you need, and create that partnership and already manifest that as a group with everybody who is listening right now. We can all join forces for that. How does it sound?
Sounds great to me, and I can't do what I do alone now. I mean, I can paint pictures by myself and hang them on a wall. I cannot get a musical out into the world by myself. I can only make it. Now I need a team. I need a team of people. And so anybody out there that ever wants to write me or contact me or work with me, suggest things, singers, producers, directors, anybody, small stages in small towns, I'm open to everything.
We'll make it
fantastic. Yeah, we're making it happen right now because this is incredible. A musical about disclosure and 17 songs. The energy, we always says vibration, lyrics, musical arrangement is the combination of creating 17 consciousness imprint in the form of music. So let's make it happen. One a quick announcement, and I know that some people in the chat room remind me of it. We have two really powerful, amazing conferences coming up. Just really quickly, one, it's coming up July. This month, July 23rd to the 25th, we're going to be in beautiful Sedona, Arizona for the Phoenix Rising, fifth dimensional or 5D consciousness conference. So I invite you to really check it out. I will post the link for registration right now in the chat room. There's beautiful speaker. My husband Peter and myself will be there as speakers. And I feel like the gathering of the light in beautiful Sedona, the feminine vortex of the planet, Phoenix Rising, let's rise together. That's the first one. The second one is in Mount Shasta, the Hierarchy of Light, August 26th to the 29th. That's another really powerful conferences. There's so many beautiful speakers, including Michael Jaco, Laura Eisenhower, and others, including myself. I will be there with the Octurian. We're going to do powerful grids activations and other amazing work. So definitely, we welcome all of you to join in Sedona coming up, and also in Mount Shasta in August. So just little parentheses. So thank you everybody for reminding me of all of the conferences. I was so immersed in your work, Doug, I completely forgot. So yes, absolutely. We're about 7-8 minutes before we wrap up our time shows for today. So I want to see if there's any last minute thoughts or anything, maybe a message you would like to share regarding what's coming up, or what you feel maybe on the consciousness, how we are shifting and also evolving as a community of light on the planet.
Okay. One of the things I do want to say is I wanted to say hello to Bill at Project Avalon, which I'm part of, and all the wonderful people there. That I've found a great community of supporting people at Project Avalon. I'm known there as the Painter Doug, and Bill Ryan is a friend, and I've put him in my series of work. These are all wonderful people. It's good to have support. We need support. You know, I want to thank my family and friends, you know, for standing by me all these years. My mom and dad made it possible for me to do what I do. And, you know, just wanted to say hello to all my friends, and many I've mentioned today, to Nancy and, you know, Chris, and all the people who have been part of this journey. So I just wanted to thank everyone.
Oh, that's wonderful. Absolutely. Everybody who have always been there for you, supporting you. I think it's important to recognize our group of people or supporter around us, whether it's our guardians, whether it's our family, friends. Definitely. And I can tell you there's a lot of support also in the chat room for you. People who just love your heart, love what you have to say.
You know, anyone, I welcome anyone can write me. I'm accessible. I'm not like, you know, I would answer emails if someone wants to write me or say something on my blog. I feel like we're in a very, you know, on the spirit level of things, this has been very trying. I feel like we're in a transitional time. The world is in a truly transitional moment that we're going through, and a lot of us are suffering division in family and friends, and there's a lot of dividing going on. There's you know, a mainstream media corruption that I feel has happened that is really just dividing people, and we have to find a way to hold on to try to reason through this, because we're, you know, we you know, we have our feet dug in about, you know, our view, and no, I know I'm right, and I know I'm right. We have we're in a powerful ego time, but we're also in a very enlightening time. And it's almost like they're pulling away from each other. And I don't know if you sense that also, but that's, you know, it's been a trying time. The last couple of years have been a very trying time.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of major transformation, a lot of organic changes from to the timeline as well. This is something that we've been preparing for eons, and then we're really at that junction. And I know, yeah, I always tell people, stay grounded in your light, stay strong in who you are. You know, use really high discernment to the wisdom of your heart to really what is it that you're accepting in your reality. What is it that you are investing into, whether it's a project, whether it's a podcast, whether it's an idea, a concept, because you are giving your energy to the idea, that concept, or what is being put out there. So it's very important to really filter what is it that you are contributing to. And remember that we are very powerful being of light. We're divine essence of light. And we also returning to living and co-creating more from that divine perspective, as opposed to narrow narrative matrix reality to the 3D dimension. Right. So that's another layer to it. With all of your permission, we would like to proceed with my team with the clearing, and let's add a layer of positive manifestation for you, Doug, for your musical, to make sure that everybody's coming your way. So we're sending out a message to them, to your team coming your way, and it's a matter to simply aligning vibrationally so you can also physically meet and collaborate. And we already rejoice in the full production, the full success of Hypnota. Can wait to really go see it. I can feel that already. So that's exciting. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for getting me to meet Vivian and to be on today.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's really our pleasure. Alrighty, everyone. So let's do this clearing. It's always unique to our podcast. We always bring our Arcturian energy and the intergalactic groups and also the guardians of light with us. So all you have to do is just make yourself very comfortable. Close your eyes. Thank you. And take a few deep breaths, allowing the sacred life force energy flowing through you, flowing to your spine, to also your inner vortexes of energies. Simply allowing the consciousness and the intelligence of the light to clear and cleanse any debris of lower frequencies, influences, or any other aspect that no longer serve, that is outside of your new reality as ascended beings of light. And as you keep breathing, let everything flow into your being. Let your heart open to the gateway of light within you. Remember the great wisdom that you hold. Remember that you are also connected to a beautiful universal community of light, including your intergalactic brothers and sisters, your cosmic lineage, and the divinity that you hold within you. Just keep breathing deeply and slowly, allowing this beautiful vortex of light coming into your auric field, clearing and strengthening your golden web, gently balancing body, mind, spirit, and beyond. Clearing any cords of attachments, past, present, and future, known and unknown, subconscious or consciously. Let everything be removed, cleared, and cleansed, and resolved from higher perspective. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hello, hello. Just keep breathing into your light, allowing everything to flow gracefully into you. On the spiritual hierarchy of light, also bring positive manifestation. The Dog's Project, Hypnota. Call forth all of his team of light, beautiful people and light workers coming your way. It is done, it is done, it is done, and so it is in all directional space and time throughout infinity. We give you our hello, our greetings, our love. You're now welcome to open your eyes. You're welcome to your sacred space. Welcome back. Beautiful. I felt it really flowing in me.
Okay, Doug, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, thank you, first of all, Vivian, for that. Thank you for the sharing of Hypnota in my work. I can be reached at my websites, which you gave, or my email, which is really simply doug@dougauld.com.
Perfect.
Doug@dougauld.com. And if I get a lot of emails, it may take me time to get back to you, but I will look at them all. And I appreciate your audience for listening and being receptive to my work. And thank you all.
You are very welcome. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here with us, for sharing. I have shared both your links to your website a few times, as well as the musical link to your heart. Everything people can definitely, we encourage you to go check out Doug's Hearts and to really immerse yourself in this amazing journey with sound and music and artistry and painting and color frequencies. So enjoy that conscious journey It's been a joy to have you. We hope to have you again on the Infinite Star Connections. On behalf of my dear friend Jeff and I, we are grateful to have you and grateful for everyone. And we are excited to also our next episode will be exclusively done on a Saturday as an exception. So join us on Saturday, July 17 at 12 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to have a very special guest as well, Dr. Lana Morrow. She's a neuroscientist and talk about consciousness, the movement, the evolution of the brain in regards to consciousness, in regards to light workers. It's going to be really amazing, really fascinating journey with Dr. Lana Morrow. And on August 8th on the Lionsgate, we're going to have Michael Jaco on the show. So stay tuned because we have so many amazing people coming, including you, Doug. Thank you again so much for today.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff and Vivian. Thank you.
See you next time.